when I can deliver someone's branding and they can send back like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that it could be this good. Like this just gave me chills. Like I didn't know I didn't know I could feel this good about the way that I'm presenting myself, and that it gives them more confidence and it gives them opportunities. And like they just have this increased sense of just like pride in their work because they feel like they're being represented visually in the way that they've wanted to. It's the biggest compliment. But I'm always telling them, like, when you see your branding for the first time, I want you to be excited, but not surprised, because it should not be coming out of left field. It should feel like you. It should feel like, oh yeah, duh. Like this was here all along. You just needed me to show it to you.
Kiss my aesthetic.
Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. You've probably seen her work or at least drooled over her work at some point on any of the social medias, because I have, and I'm so excited she's our guest today. Welcome, Emily.
Hello, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here. I am also obsessed with your brand and all that you do. And the podcast, I usually listen to it while I'm baking. So this is very exciting, very meta. Yeah.
Wow, what a full circle moment. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't follow you or know you yet, can you tell us who you are, what you do, who you help?
Absolutely. My name is Emily Henniger. I am a cookie artist, content creator, and entrepreneur based in Nashville, Tennessee. And I like to say that I make people feel like celebrities and celebrities feel like people with cookie art. So it's a pretty fun gig.
Oh, that mission statement is on point.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. And you're not fresh to the game here. You were telling me before we even started recording, you've been at this for 14 years.
I know. Since a wee last. I was 11 when I started. Yes.
Oh my
crazy.
Gosh. Look at you. I started my business at 20. I thought that was young. 11. Jeez. Okay. So I know you've probably told it. You probably told it again and again, but give us the origin story of how Cookie in the Kitchen came to be.
I love it. I love sharing the story. It's so fun. I obviously at 11, you're really concerned about, the future of your life, how you're going to make money, and, what you want to do with your one wild and precious life. No, I was just a very passionate kid, and I loved doing different creative projects. And my sister had a business at the time, older sister, and I thought that was super cool. And I'm like, I could do that. And so I liked baking, and it was just one of the many creative projects that I was into at the time. I would bake cookies for our family movies or when we had friends over, and just thought they would be an easy thing to start selling. And so my sister helped create a logo, and my mom and I printed out some business cards, and we walked around my neighborhood with a tray of cookies. And imagine it was near Super Bowl Sunday. And imagine like a little 11-year-old in your neighborhood knocks on your door and is like, here are these fabulous cookies that I have for free. You can eat one. And then what if you signed up for more and ordered more cookies? And
I love that. That's a good try and then buy business model. I like that.
Exactly. And we got down one big street, and I had 19 dozen orders. And my mom was like, girl, that is 19 times 12. Like
that's a lot of cookies.
That's a lot of cookies. And you have very small hands. So we should put pause on that. And that kickstarted Cookie in the Kitchen. So
oh my gosh,
I just would sell to neighbors and church friends and people in my community and at school. And it was one of those things, I'm sure you probably have similar stories where you have these little passions that kind of pop up and then go away. But this was one where I was like, okay, wait a minute, this one's sticking around. Like, this is interesting. And so it took me all the way from middle school to high school to college. I am from Atlanta, Georgia, and then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee to go to Belmont University, study entrepreneurship and graphic design.
Amazing.
And then graduated just a couple of years ago, and I've been full-time cookie making ever since.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay. Wow. What a cool story. Of course. It's always refreshing to hear. I knew a little bit of it, but it's always refreshing to hear from the beginning. But also being a young entrepreneur is a whole topic in itself, which we didn't even outline before all of this. I'm curious if you had the feeling I did, because when I was similar to you, super crafty kid, always trying to sell stuff, I was writing plays for all my sisters to be in. So like I was always directing and costuming and like being the boss of all of them. Creative director, making jewelry, selling jewelry, like finding all these little hobbies and habits. And in 7th grade, I had this idea that I was going to custom hand paint canvas totes for all my friends based on the things that they were interested in.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? So it's like I was always just doing the most. And my parents, I was in the garage from like 9 to 10:45, 11 o'clock at night as a middle schooler. And I was like giving these gifts to people. And they're like, here's your candy cane for Christmas. And I was like, this doesn't really feel like a fair trade.
Oh my gosh. But one of my favorite compliments to give people is that I think we would have been great friends as kids. And we
1,000%.
would have we would have
That's
totally
percent.
vibed. I was also a night owl working very late at night. I thought that I was an introvert for years because I would stay up so late working on
Yeah.
different creative projects. And my parents were like, oh, you really love your alone time. And then I didn't realize until later that I actually just enjoyed being unbothered at those
Yes.
hours.
Oh
And I
gosh, yes.
love being around people when I'm creating, but I want to be
Parallel
kind of
play.
locked in. Oh my gosh, don't even get me started on that.
Okay,
That could
we
be
have so
another
much to
whole
talk
podcast.
about.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, we have so much to talk about. But I did notice when I started my business, for me, the biggest compliment was someone telling me like, "Wow, this is so good. I had no idea you could do that. I had no
Oh,
idea that was you." Like to me, the
yes.
highest form of a compliment was someone seeing something that they perceived to be good as if it was made by a professional, but it was like me, 21 years old, hung over in my college dorm, like clickety clacking on my computer with my friends when we were watching TV making money. And that to me, I was like, oh, I could do this. Like, this is great. So I'm
Yes.
curious if you have had cookies people understand. Like cookies, like
Mhm.
people know what a cookie is and they obviously could see your work, right? So maybe it's a little bit more of a connection. But did you feel kind of the like, oh, you're too young to be doing this vibes?
Well, surprisingly, many people didn't know how young I was. And like, I
Ah,
remember in high school, I had someone place an order and I was like, yeah, I think that pickup time works. Like, let me just check with my parents. And she was like, what the heck? Like,
your
why
parents.
are you checking with your parents? And she didn't realize that I was 16 until she came and picked up the cookies.
Oh, cute as
So
that. Oh my
I
gosh.
put it, I used my slogan used to be on my website, like whatever age I would be, it'd be like a 16-year
Yeah,
old baker with homework and a hand me down mixer. So I was pretty like
obvious.
forward
Yeah,
facing
yeah,
in
yeah.
promoting that. But yeah, I'd say generally I had similar responses. Like I think also the longevity of my business. They're like, you've been doing this
Yeah,
how long? Like that's crazy.
yeah.
And the cookie decorator community, also known as the cookiers, is our official
Okay.
term. It's like probably 90% stay-at-home moms, and I'm one of like
Oh,
the 10% that is Gen Z and has been doing this for over 10 years. A lot of them
yeah,
have been
yeah.
a little bit newer to the game or a COVID project turned side hustle. So
Right.
yeah, it's been fun to be in the industry for a while.
No kidding. Well, this is the thing that's cool too. Like for me, like being a young person having a new business didn't feel as cool, but being a young person having established business,
Yes,
like like it's pretty
exactly.
cool. It's pretty cool. But talk to us about what your current offerings are that you're
Mhm.
like as of today. Like this is what I do. And then tell us where was that like big tipping point with your social media because I've
Yeah.
got to guess that's how I found you. I know that that's how I found you, but I feel like you popped off and then you stayed like kind of on this uphill. So tell me about
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yes. So I serve primarily three different customer bases or do three different things. So I create custom orders for girlies in Nashville with all kinds of celebrations from birthdays to corporate events to holidays to graduations, all that jazz. Then I specialize in making cookies for musicians when they come to Nashville. So some sort of third party will order cookies for usually
Sure.
the artist backstage as a gift for them when they come to town. So it could be the venue they're playing at or the record label they're with. And then I also work with brands to create content of cookies for social media. So it's a fun balance of different things. I love all three different buckets. I'm sure you feel this too, where like
Yeah.
as a creative, you really do need a balance of how much time you're spending or creativity you're spending on something or how many clients you're working with. So I love that I get to do a little balance of all sorts of things. And I forgot, was there a second part to your question?
Your social media kind
Oh,
of journey,
yes.
your trajectory, because I feel like you do such, and honestly, a lot of Gen Z, which I respect it so deeply. You guys grew up with phones in your hand, and so your ability and knack for content creation is so natural in a lot of ways. But talk to me about like how you knew, like, oh, this really like doing content for brands could like really kick off because you've
Yes.
got to have had some viral moments in here. I know you've had more than one viral moment.
Yeah, so I kind of fell into it, honestly. It wasn't something that I was doing from the start, but I really saw how social media became a part of how artists updated and consistently, yeah, just
Living
yeah,
portfolio. Yes,
exactly.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
words are not wording. Yeah, a living portfolio. And then when Reels and TikTok started coming into the play, like cookie decorating videos were kind of the big thing. And so
Hmm.
then people were using it more to show like the behind the scenes of their process and kind of adding more value to the experience of being a client or a follower. And so I saw that trajectory a little bit. I feel like I was more on the later end. I mean, I had a business Instagram maybe 2014 or 2015
Sure.
that I was posting, but I wasn't really doing much with it. And a big key part of my story is that in high school, I took a graphic design class, and it was probably about 5 years into my business. And I realized, like, hold on a minute, what I'm doing on the computer is really closely aligned to what I'm doing on cookies. And it
Mhm.
just unlocked this whole world of creativity for me. And I have a graphic designer brain, like I think in vectors and not
Mhm.
in brushstrokes.
Mhm.
And so it just totally clicked. And then shortly after that, I saw the overlap of graphic design and then really just creative direction for bands and musicians and
Yeah.
seeing how
Yeah.
album covers looked like cookies. And I was like, hold on, I could do something here. And so I started going to basically as many general admission shows as I could fit into my high school calendar. And I would wait after the shows with a box of cookies. And I'd do all of this research and design a whole set to represent and
Amazing.
reflect their life in cookies. And it was not born out of any particular like desire to grow my business. It was just
Sure,
like,
sure, sure,
this
sure,
is
sure.
so fun. And sometimes
Yeah.
I got to meet them, and that's awesome. And so I was just doing that with like smaller indie artists, and they would often post about it. And so I get like a little boost of following when that would happen. And then I made cookies for Dua Lipa right before I moved to Nashville. And she was
Nice.
like the first pop star that I had
Yeah.
done. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a different ball game now. And then when I moved
Uh-huh.
to Nashville, then of course, because Nashville's Music City, companies started reaching out to me to order the cookies.
Mhm.
So I had some like little sprinkles of moments here and there, but really the big moment was that my senior year, I made cookies for Harry Styles. I was like, okay, the Harry Styles fans are
Uh-huh.
incredible and
Uh-huh.
amazing. And
One
they
of them. Mhm.
Yes, exactly. Same here. And so, well, actually, at that point, I was familiar with his work, but I didn't
Yeah.
know all of the lore and everything. And so I asked a friend who had done really well on TikTok and was like, okay, how do I go about this? Because this has got to be the moment. Like I've had these moments
Sure.
working with these smaller artists and there is a following there, but this is a different ballgame. And so he was just like, post 2 to 3 times a week on TikTok, share your story, do a voiceover with a cookie decorating video. And like immediately I had 500,000 views on just a regular cookie
Yep.
video right before I did his cookies. And then I posted nonstop for probably 6 months, like
Oh
making
my
his
gosh.
cookies and then other artists that came up throughout it. And probably, I think I got up to like 100,000 followers on TikTok in maybe 6 months.
Amazing. But the
Mhm.
perfect storm timing of, like, his meteoric rise I need to read someone's, like, PhD dissertation of, like,
Yes.
Harry Styles that summer, plus everyone getting the new iPhone with, like, mega zoom,
Yeah.
because, like, those 2 things without each other would not have had the impact that they had. I really feel like that's a big deal because
So
all of
true.
a sudden everyone's concert content was, like, amazing.
Yes. Well, and the interesting thing that I saw the overlap of too is concert outfits. I feel like
Yes.
that is really like because he had such a clear aesthetic with Love
Yes.
on Tour that
Branding.
people
Branding.
and exactly. And his own personal aesthetic and even how that shifted and his different outfits every night on tour. It just created a world for people to buy into and to
Yeah.
reflect that in their own unique ways. So I had so much fun just following along with all of that content, seeing what the girlies were wearing.
Uh-huh.
So that was a really fun part of incorporating into it. And actually, after I made his cookies, a couple months later, I collaborated with an illustrator based out of the UK who had drawn every one of
Cool.
his outfits. And I made a
Oh my
cookie of
gosh.
each of her drawings of all of
Right.
his different outfits. So it was just so special and fun. But it was really cool way to incorporate other fans into the work that I do too, because I do a
Yeah.
ton of deep dives on people. But I'm like, the fans know what's up. They know all the
Yes.
lore, the inside jokes, the little moments, the things that I should include. And so I posted a video a couple weeks before I made his cookies asking for people's ideas, and they sent in a billion comments, which was so
Of course.
helpful for me. And that was really the moment. And then after I made cookies for him, it was fall of my senior year, and I had 5 different brands email me
Amazing.
asking for me to do content for them. And I was like, I've never done this before. What the heck do I charge for this? Like it was, and
Mhm.
I'm like, and I've got finals as well. Like this is just
Mhm.
crazy. So
Mhm.
it kind of kicked me into that world of influencer marketing and
Yeah.
content creation. But it's a really fun world to be in. I
It
really
is.
enjoy the creativity, and it's helped make my business very sustainable, which is always a plus.
Well, and I love that you kind of like, you kind of fell into it. Like, it wasn't like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this because it's gonna get me reach. It's gonna get me viral." No, like, and that's, I think, the thing that brands struggle with the most is, like,
Mm.
kind of this attachment to that as the idea. But even to your point, like there's such deep lore and community. Like I love
Yeah,
those things because that enriches the storytelling. That's brand building, right? So that's a lot of what
totally.
our team does. But one of the smarter things I ever did was theme my 30th birthday after White Lotus. Because guess what's getting a ton of traffic right now on my
Yes,
TikTok account is all of my content from 2 years ago where I was
exactly.
posting about my 30th birthday. So it's just so funny because I think as a culture, especially coming out of COVID, people
Mhm.
are so, and because of social media, like we're so hungry for that and so hungry to be around like, oh, these are my people. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I found my people. And I think this is TikTok is just so brilliant for this. Is like you can find those super niche, super specific,
Yes.
super like, oh, I love baking, I love music, and I love pop culture and I love design. Like
Yes.
amazing. Like all of those things are in the mix. I do want to give you time to talk about your design
Mhm.
process because I'm so personally curious. And especially I love that you said I think in vectors and not in brush strokes. I was like, oh my God, duh, same,
Yes.
same. Like never took a painting and drawing class in my life. Well,
Exactly.
classes, but like didn't major in it in college, like took them recreationally.
Mhm.
But I love that's where you started. So learning Illustrator, I would assume.
Yeah.
How did that impact your what was your process before that? And then what's pre-computer, post-computer as part of
Ooh,
your process?
yes. I just had a million really disgustingly ugly sketches, and and it was yeah, it took me so long to, like, nail down what designs I wanted to do because I would still do a lot of research and pulling inspiration photos and all of that, but I would map it all out on paper, but then I wouldn't even really be able to visualize it that well
Mhm.
because I don't really think that way, and they would look really bad, and would just spend ages
How many
creating.
cookies are you eating in a process?
Oh, right. Well,
How
yes,
many
exactly.
okay, so whenever I'm baking, I'm like, I have to eat the ugly ones.
Yes. Oh, exactly. Well, it's funny too because I was pretty immediately creating cookies for clients. Like, I
Oh,
don't
nice. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So it
Yeah.
was almost always like, I'm not really making any extra here because
Yep.
these are all going to you.
That's my bottom line.
Exactly, exactly.
Funny.
Yes, and then really, I think it wasn't until okay, interesting cookie decorator lore
Sure.
is that, there basically almost all of us use projectors,
Mhm.
and I had this old really clunky old physical projector that I would use where you had to print everything out, and then it would, like, reflect it with a mirror and a light
Huh.
underneath it. So I used that for a while and then it died on me. And I had seen most people had gotten transitioned to digital projectors. And then that's actually when I transitioned to basically creating exact mockups on Illustrator because
Right.
I could just screen share. And so I know exactly what shapes I'm using. I have just an Illustrator file with all of the different cookie cutter shapes that I use
Mhm.
and we'll pull those in. And it's very useful because now I know I can do a lot of that creative decision making without the like cost of having to play that out in
Yeah.
real time by remaking a cookie or realizing the color contrast doesn't work or whatever.
Sure.
So it's a very fun process. And I think it's something right now it's just me and my business, but eventually when I want to scale it, I'm just so intrigued to be like, ooh, I feel like some designers would have so much fun with this to like be given kind of the boundaries of a cookie order
Yes.
and like the shapes and the
Yes.
particular format that it's going in. Like I just could see
Yes.
there being graphic designers that don't even know that that's a job that could exist, that would
Well, it's a
exist one
brief.
day.
It's a brief. There's
Yeah.
constraints, right? So it's like getting a client brief. You're like, okay, it has to fit in this location, in this, to cater to this type of person and blah, blah, blah. But it's like putting the bumpers up on the bowling lane. Like, okay, I'm only bowling
Mhm,
here, right? Like it's so fun to think about. But I want to go back to what you were saying about kind of like mapping things out, checking for color contrast, coming up with
mhm.
compositions. I think something you do particularly well is color theory. Like I think
Thank you so much.
your color palettes are so consistent and they have again you're working with this like limited number of elements or ingredients so to speak
Mhm.
like and how those come together and then I've got to imagine just like being able to use the pen tool and like trace
Yeah.
things is very helpful
Yes.
especially when
Image
you're trying
choice
to
is my
translate
best
artwork.
friend. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about an artist comes to you or a company comes to you to make
Mhm.
cookies for an artist. Let's say maybe it's an artist that you're not so familiar with their
Yeah.
whole musical history. What now?
Yeah,
Where do you
absolutely.
start?
Well, this is where the fun part starts. I just am pulling on threads on Google and social media to no end. So I will really start trying to the biggest thing that I'll try to discover is like what is significant to this person? Like what
Mhm.
album is like this is their proudest work or this is what the fans think of when they think of this artist or what are these little details like why are people in the comment sections always saying this random phrase that I don't understand? So I'll
Mhm.
Google that and see where that leads. Been loving the friendship bracelet trend because I'll see people post on
Yes.
TikTok the niche friendship bracelets they make, and then I can go backwards from that. Like I saw on when I made cookies for the Jonas Brothers, and someone had a friendship bracelet that was like, "Oops, I dropped my pencil," or something, and I was like, "What is that about?" And it was like a specific line that Joe had said in this song, and I included it on a cookie. And so it's fun to kind of work backwards and see how can I visually translate these
Right.
details and in a cohesive way. Because one thing that is the unique challenge of my particular style is that I'm not just going off of an artist's singular most recent tour or what
Sure.
album they're going off of. And that naturally, because they have whole creative teams that are building out
Yeah.
a color palette and aesthetics for it that are well
Yeah.
aligned, those things naturally are going to look cohesive. But when I'm pulling some stuff from an artist's entire discography, to find the visual thread to like link it through, that's the fun part for me. And finding like,
Yeah.
okay, how can the colors help do that and make that look cohesive? Because I don't want it to look like just a mess. I want it to look
No.
like you see the artist as a whole when you see it.
Well, and
So
a lot of times artists don't know what their common thread is because they're
yeah.
in the art. They don't know that like the thing or the theme or the fact that they are naming their songs after musical instruments or styles of whatever, like they're not
Mhm.
noticing it because they're in it, right? So to be able to
Yes.
look at it from almost like a researcher journalist perspective has to be very
Yes.
satisfying.
Oh, it is so satisfying. And I've spoken with a journalist friend of mine, and he said you're basically doing interview prep on
Yes.
cookies. So that's been really special too. When I do have the opportunity to meet any of the artists, getting to kind of ask them questions about it. Or like, there was one artist I like got to ask her like, okay, what was the creative like process behind this
Yeah.
album art? Like, where did your mind go here? Or how did this color palette like is that are naturally inclined to? I just think it's so interesting. And I'm like, can we get artists talking about this more? Because I know
I
there's so much
know.
that goes into it. And to see like the visual history of an artist, like there's one artist, Steven Sanchez, I did cookies for, and I talked to him
Mhm.
about this, where his first few pieces of work were very earth tone, like artistically drawn covers and
Sure.
whatnot. And then he took like a hard left into like very Elvis Presley, like
Yeah.
1950s red and black old
Yeah.
Hollywood style. And I'm like, okay, how did that transition happen? And how much of that was intentional versus did you fall into it?
Right.
Oh,
Were you
I could
advised to
talk
do
for
it?
hours. Exactly.
As you've heard me say time and time again on this podcast, what worked in 2024 for social media management is not the same as what's going to cut it in 2025. Platforms are shifting, algorithms are chaotic, and keeping up feels like playing whack-a-mole in the wild, wild west. That's exactly why we made our 2025 social media webinar. This is the deck that we actually sent to our clients. It's 65 slides long. And in the 45-minute webinar, I basically walk you through all the platforms, who owns them, their involvement with the current political administration, what are the pros and cons of each platform, what content performs best, as well as what our team would need for strategy, content creation, and posting and engagement to run the strategy on behalf of your brand. So whether you're a small business owner looking to work with us, or you're also a social media manager or creative just trying to get a better grip of the social media landscape, this is a resource you're going to want to take advantage of. You want to head to our website, mkwcreativeco.com/resources. So mkwcreative.co/resources. This is the 2025 social media webinar. And just for you, I included the one-pager reference guide that we've also sent to our clients to really give you the full menu of options in one big flash sheet. So take advantage of it or hit the link in the show notes to get access to our 2025 social media webinar, because it is wild out there and you shouldn't have to figure it out by yourself. Good luck. Enjoy. Okay, so you feel that you also have synesthesia, which is like the phenomenon of feeling or sensing different senses based on different material. Because, like, I call it, I'll share that I say this on the podcast all the time. When I'm talking to a new client on their discovery call and they're explaining their brand to me, I have what I call like the That's So Raven moment. You might be too young, but if you remember this show,
Oh,
That's
no,
So
no, no.
Raven.
I'm not too young. Don't worry.
Okay, good. So
Yes.
she could see into the future. I see into, and I'm like, yep. And I can just like clock in and I can just go there. But
Yes.
I'm that way with music too. Like music to me feels like colors.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I feel like the two things are related. Like there is like when we think warm, and maybe this is just color theory in general, but like
Right.
warm, okay, warm color, sunshine. What is that feeling? What are the smells? What are the sights? What are the so like that's all part of world building and like building the
Mm-hmm.
context, right? And like then making it deep and interesting. And then also like knowing that words have, what did I say the other day that really my sister's like, you're crazy. That like words have taste to them.
Yeah.
And she's like, you're full of crap. And I was like, no, I'm telling you. But it's that whole like Kika Booba
Yes.
argument. You
Yes.
know this?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so like you can show someone a shape and then make the sound Kika or Booba, and they have to say which one is which one. And obviously, like the blobby shaped one is Booba and the sharp
Mhm.
one is Kika. Duh. I think for creatives, it's so obvious, but there's this kind of undercurrent like of energy or like language
Mhm.
that I think I've got to imagine then when we didn't even finish your process, which I want to get back to, which is like, you've done the research. Are you listening to the artist when you're making their cookies?
Ooh, sometimes I feel like
Okay.
usually I do it if I'm going to the concert and I wanna,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
prepared to sing all the
Sure.
words, yes. I think honestly what I do is because I have similar I think just as any creative, yeah, has kind of the visual language to be able
Right.
to articulate what they're doing, and more for me, it's kind of seeing what they're already doing and reflecting that back, and even you think
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
I think so much as well building a color palette that isn't maybe talked about as much as the balance of like how much is there of one color versus what are like the accent colors.
Harmony.
Exactly. And so I think that's really interesting as well, especially when I'm finding how can I balance out different eras and colors from an artist or different aesthetics that I'm looking at that like, okay, like for Olivia Rodrigo is one that she's
Sure.
like so purple forward and she was so easy for me to do. I'm like, I don't have to spend
Yeah.
any amount of time like thinking about how to translate this and make
Right.
that all look cohesive. Ironically, even Taylor Swift is a little bit more challenging because she has so many different colors and so many
Uh-huh.
different eras. And it, of
Uh-huh.
course, is not just one era. Like, how can I make the balance of all of them
Everything.
feeling represented? So, yeah, it's
Oh,
so
so
interesting to
fun.
me.
Yeah. Okay, if you weren't doing it for musical artists, what other type of media would you want to interpret in Cookie? And maybe you've already branched into them before. Because like I could totally see you doing a whole cookie set for like Severance or White
Yes.
Lotus.
Yes.
Duh.
I really think TV and movie would be so fun,
Yeah.
especially just I love like I just am a noticer. I'm
Same.
always noticing the little details and so I would love to like pull something from a movie that is maybe on the screen for like 2 seconds, but like everyone talks
Mhm.
about it or it's like a significant part of the movie and like blow that up into its
Mhm.
own cookie. Because that's really the most common thread between all of the work that I do is just getting to notice people and reflect that back to them. And there's something about it. I was reading an Instagram comment. Wait, I'm gonna have to find this. I wrote it down because I'm like, oh, you literally get it. This is
You
exactly
get it.
what.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Describing is the evidence that someone has noticed you, seen you, and is reflecting it back to you.
Oh, yes. Have you seen the other memes that are like all girls want to do is be
Yes,
described?
it was on it was on that video.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking of exactly the same video. Yes,
Yes.
it's because it's also it's affirming that the message that you're wanting to portray is being noted.
Yeah.
It's saying like, "I thought of this thing, and the fact that you noticed that I thought of this thing makes me feel like I'm worth noticing." Like, there was one
Yes.
that's it was TikTok I just watched literally today, where the girl is like she's like, "I'm eavesdropping on my boyfriend talking to his friend, saying, 'Lauren's so cool, she'll take the same piece of clothing and style it totally differently, and you would never know it was the same thing, and she wears it in so many different ways, and it's so cool.'" It's like
Oh,
she's like crying from the other room. She's like, "Oh my god."
literally.
Because but that's what we all crave, right? That's what artists crave when they're making music. That's
Yeah.
I think what people crave from social media is like they put themselves out there. Like there's just this desire to be like, "Hey, I did a thing." And then to have someone acknowledge and appreciate that you did a thing. It's like
Yes.
so basic, but it's so true.
Yes, the really special thing, particularly about making cookies for artists, is that when I have gotten to meet them, the cookies are this really cool equalizing tool where the dynamic shifts from like I'm a fan talking to a star and
Yes.
more to I'm an artist talking to an artist
Yes.
because there's now this kind of third thing that we can look at together and I'm seeing the art that they have created and reflecting it back to them and then they're seeing the art that I've created and reflecting that back to me and we're
Mhm.
both like it's like the
Mhm.
Spider-Man meme where I'm like you're so
Mhm.
talented they're
Mhm.
like you're so
Mhm.
talented I'm
Mhm.
like how are you saying that I'm
Mhm.
talented this is crazy oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh and it's
Uh-huh.
just so special to be able to do that and I think that's also part of what I think we want as creatives as well is not just for people to see our art and tell us this looks great. You did a great job. You're very
Right.
talented at this, but we want them to see themselves in it. Like my favorite comments on my Instagram are not when people are like, "Oh my gosh, this looks so perfect. I could never do that." I'm like, "Oh, that kind of makes me sad because I'm
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
can do it in your own way."
Yeah.
And what really makes me feel seen is when they're like, "Oh, you captured like the spirit of this person." And I don't know how you did that, but that's so cool. And that inspires me to do Like I had a friend say to me once, seeing you do what you love makes me want to do the things that I love. I'm like,
Oh, that's the
that's
whole point of everything. That's the whole point of
exactly.
everything. That's the whole point. No, I get that with branding too. Like when I can deliver someone's branding and they can send back like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that it could be this good. Like this just gave me chills. Like I didn't know it could be, I didn't know I could feel this good about the way that I'm presenting myself." And then it gives them more confidence and it gives them opportunities. And like they just have this increased sense of just like pride in their work because they feel like they're being represented visually in the way that they've wanted to. It's the biggest
Yeah.
compliment. But I'm always telling them, like, when you see your branding for the first time, I want you to be excited, but not surprised because it should not be coming
Yeah.
out of left field. It should feel like you. It should feel like, oh, yeah, duh. Like this was here all along. You just
Oh,
needed me to show it to you, you know?
right.
And
Exactly. And how
that's what good design does, I think.
mhm, I agree. That yes,
So fun, right? Okay, so
110% on the
we're
dot.
on the same side of TikTok then because these are all the
Yes.
videos I get.
Yes.
These are all the same videos. Okay, if there's a dream project that you want to manifest via this podcast,
Oh my gosh. I need to like
also
stand.
how big a cookie can you make?
Okay, actually, here's the funny thing is
Do
that
you have mega cookie underway or what?
I actually do, and I can show you. So the podcast listeners, you'll hear the ASMR with my cookie sheets.
Amazing.
You'll have to go online to see how big this is. This is
Nice.
will be a
Okay.
residence hall.
Oh, I
That's
love that.
bigger than my face. So
Nice. Nice. Nice.
I've also gotten into 3D cookie making of recent. I made a 3D record player out of cookies.
Okay.
It's now
Yeah.
sitting on my shelf, which I'm very proud of.
Nice. So we're pushing some boundaries. We're pushing boundaries. But
Yes.
what's an opportunity?
Mm.
I would say artists, but I feel like, all artists are incredible in their own right. But what's like an actual pseudo business opportunity that you're like, I really think this could put me in a new stratosphere?
Oh, this is fun to talk about. I love having conversations with people. And like I said, basically what I'm doing on cookies is interview prep. And I would love to do some sort of interview series with bands where we're decorating cookies, maybe we're just chatting about the cookies I've made, or
Kind of like
maybe
Selena Gomez's cooking show.
yes, mhm.
Okay, I see it for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, or like the vibe of carpool karaoke where it's like it's the
Yeah,
same thing but just different artists and that's what makes it interesting. But I want to have these conversations with artists and be like, "Okay, Olivia, like tell me,
a
where did the
thousand.
purple come from? Like did that just happen? Did you
Yes,
you
yes.
had different colors? I saw the behind the scenes of the Sour album photo shoot. Like what made that be the album cover? And have purple always been your favorite color? Like, I and like the
The
purple
way
to
that
the
you would
Guts
kill it.
transition. Like
The
tell me about
way
that."
the way you would kill it, like a Hot Ones style interview show, but
Yes.
cookies, you would crush.
Exactly.
Okay, so for all the TV producers that listen, I don't know
Yes,
that anybody
please.
does, but that's what we're working on. That's what we're working towards.
Exactly.
Wait, I love that for
That's
you.
the
The
dream.
other thing, which maybe you've already done, so forgive me if you've already done it, but I'm dying for a coffee table book of all of your work.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's genius. Wait, I'm gonna have to give you some royalties on
You're
that.
gonna
That's
have
so
to do
genius.
that. Just send me a copy. You don't need to give me royalties. Just
Yes.
send me one copy. But I want a coffee table book that's like with pictures because you have them framed behind you so
Oh my
nicely. Like,
gosh.
and you always take them in
Yes.
this orientation of like something with like a lyric or some of these like lore, the stories that you're talking about,
Yes.
little blurbs
Oh,
about like how this came up, like labeled, like this cookie number 1, cookie number 2, cookie number 3, little stories. Because people who are
oh my
music
gosh.
freaks and baking freaks, like this is a done deal.
And
Okay,
design freaks.
so publishers and
There you
design freaks,
go.
publishers in the comments, blow it up. That feels so obvious to me.
Wow.
Table
Yeah,
book,
I'm definitely going to steal that.
and
And
then
yes,
coffee and
shameless.
cookies, and then book
Exactly.
tour.
There you go. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, shameless plug for Prince as well. So if there's any artists that I've mentioned on here that you're fans of,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
if I didn't mention them, I probably have made them cookies. So I have Prince
yeah.
on my website, and
Amazing.
they're very fun. A fun
Yes,
way to showcase again the whole
no
aesthetic of an
kidding.
artist.
Oh, it's so impressive, and I think what makes it so fun and just so like joyful is the fact that they're cookies. Like,
Yes.
you could be making them little teeny tiny paintings, which you are
Right.
basically, but I think the fact that they're cookies, like, the ephemera of it, like, the kind of, like,
Yes.
here one minute, gone the next is what makes it feel extra special, so kudos to you on
I
that.
totally would agree with that. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, where can everyone find you, follow you? They probably already are, but if they aren't following you, where can they find you, follow you, work with you, recommend opportunities to you, all of that good
Heck
stuff?
yeah. Yes, you can find me on my website at cookieinthekitchen.com. And that's where you can find prints of all of my artist cookies. And then I have a Substack as well that's linked on my
Nice.
website where I share more business musings. And then on Instagram and TikTok at Cookie in the Kitchen. And then I make cookies for most people. Also will look at my business and they're like, oh, so you just do like the big artists. And I'm like, no. Remember the mission
We gotta
statement.
keep the lights on. Yep.
We're here for normal people too. And yeah, and those are also some of my favorite projects to work on. My favorite thing is when like I have a bunch of moms from my college that will order cookies for their kids while they're in school. And they love to send me a whole novel in my order form about their kids. And I'm like, some people would hate that. And I'm like, no, I'm set.
No,
I'm locked
give it
in.
everything.
I want all of the
Did you play water
details.
polo? Did you have a sticker collection? Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Amazing.
So,
It's amazing.
So yes, I don't ship cookies, but if you're in Nashville, hit me up. I would love to make you some.
Nashville. Okay, so I'll have to connect you. A friend of mine just moved to Nashville. Shout out Eliza. She wrote the theme song for this podcast.
Fun.
So
oh my gosh, yes, please
she
connect.
just moved to Nashville and you guys would totally get on. So I will connect you guys afterwards. But thank you so much for your time on a Friday, because we always record on Fridays. I so appreciate it, Emily. You guys, if you love today's episode, don't forget to send it to a friend, share it, save it, leave a comment, reach out, go dig through your comment section, because I feel like you're like you said, crowdsourcing your little hints and clues. So if you're a super freak for an artist, help Emily out.
Please. Yes. My DMs are always open.
Amazing.
Yes. Thank you so much for your curiosity and conversations. I wish we could keep talking forever and ever, because I feel like we would not stop.
We love to have repeat guests, so you'll have to just come back.
Yeah. Hit me up.
Amazing. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening, everyone. Bye.